Hi, it's Jen and Bethany here with a really fun project, another Plum Easy pattern. This is Uptown Debbie Brown. Your mom designed this quite some time back. And I love this project from Deborah because it is really almost a three-part pattern in that we've got this darling pincushion, kind of the thread catcher. How many times am I like, where do I put the threads after I'm doing patchwork? But then she did this really fun variation of adding a handle to that. So it's kind of like a flower girl bag, maybe at a wedding, just something fun. And of course, you can see the versatility of this in completely different fabrics. I love that. This is Heather. This is a collection that I designed a long time back for Maywood Studio. Back in limited SKUs, pick up that yardage. We cannot reprint that collection. It's kind of like a little bit of a return to that. So if you love that shabby chic, be sure to pick up that fabric. This collection, which one is this one again?
Froth and Bubble?
Yes, okay, yeah. And that is, I think, by Janet Nesbitt, by Henry Glass. I love that versatility, right? So you could, we're not doing kits right now. We're just gonna show you, Bethany's gonna walk us through this. Two things we're gonna be doing because this pattern contains instructions for the thread catcher, or if you wanna add the handles, basically a flower girl bag, or the pincushion. We're going to split this into two separate videos. For today, Bethany's going to walk us through how to either make the thread catcher, or if you want to add the handles, it becomes a bag. And then in our second part, we'll be going over the pincushion.
Correct.
And I think they look lovely in combination. Can you imagine showing up to a quilt retreat and you're like, I'm so in fashion that I got my pincushion and my thread catcher, because how many times have I gone to a quilt retreat and I don't have a place to put the thread?
I have a little baggie like taped to the desk and it's gross.
That's what it becomes, yes. So I see some other things on the table. I'm gonna let you kick us off. I know there's certain notions that you said are like, this is a perfect addition. So take us there and I will be excited to watch how this all happens.
All right, so we're gonna start off with what my favorite part of this bag, I think it's the cutest part, is the little bit of piping at the top. And we've got it here in bright yellow. It really just pops there, adds just a really cute little element to this. And the pattern says, go buy some piping, okay?
Okay.
I don't know if you've noticed, but the stuff in the store is not the cutest, or maybe it doesn't match your fabric entirely. So I was looking for ways to make my own that would match.
Okay.
And came across this tool here that we'll get into that just made it so I can make custom piping in any size and any length.
Oh, I love that.
And let's talk about that.
I love that because, like you said, A, I can barely find piping, and B, it's usually a solid fabric.
And maybe not a high quality fabric too.
That, and it might not be in the right shade, or it's just not, I want custom.
Right.
So I know you, Bethany, when she does not find what she's looking for, she's like, there's a tool out there or I'll create a way. And you always do that. And I love that. I'm like, just give it to Bethany and she'll find the way.
So what I've got here is, I found I really liked working with kitchen twine or nylon cord that was like 3 millimeters, but it was really hard to find that.
Okay.
So this is kitchen twine that I have here. Some of them were really thin, some of them were thicker. I liked the thicker one. It just, I think, had a better look on my finished product here. And I've got a strip of fabric here. I believe this is like 1.5 inches. And this is cut on bias.
We've got some stretch to go around our curves.
This is bias piping.
Got it.
Yes, we want to ease this around curves. And what we do, and this, by the way, this strip here has been oversized.
Okay.
So when I go to basically turn this into piping, I'll just lay that in the middle, fold this over, and I'm gonna stitch with a zipper foot right along the edge here. This is definitely oversized. I don't have to worry about these ends matching up perfectly. We're just trying to get them, get that cord encased.
Nice.
Okay, and then I'll show you how that tool comes in. But would you mind sewing this for me?
I would love to. And I know this is different than what's in the book here.
Correct.
The piping hot binding. I'll just touch on that real quick. Yeah. The piping hot binding is what you grabbed for the book because it had a tool.
Correct.
But you knew, I think I remember you saying that this is awesome for doing binding, which will be a separate video. We want to touch on Susan's product for adding, because binding can be so sleepy. But this is a way to add, it's a way to add a little bit of sparkle and excitement. But I know because you wanted a more profound piping, while this could work, and it comes in the book, it comes with a tool that you're going to show us how to use.
Correct.
You wanted a more profound.
A little more dramatic.
Yep.
Just it would show more.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I just want to explain why we're using that kind of kitchen twine, I guess you call it.
It's kitchen twine.
So it's kind of your preference. This would work. It's going to have a lower profile.
I mean, you could probably use, a worsted weight yarn if you've got it.
Oh,
just
okay.
What you have,
all right.
As long as you can iron on it. Yeah.
So when you fold this over and before I take it there, do you generally give a press to that and do you pin it? How do you hold that together?
I actually did not. I mean, if you're more comfortable with having it pressed, you can. I think I did try it once where I pressed it and I kind of could see the crease.
I see.
And I didn't want that. I wanted it to remain bubbly and kind of, round.
Perfect.
One thing I did do was when I first fold this over, and it's a little easier to see on this side, is I stitched across here to kind of anchor this in place.
Oh.
So that this doesn't end up accidentally sliding out.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a good way to start. I think what I'll do is I'll just start showing people how to use this. If you're like me, I'm like, hey, I'm a quilter. These zipper feet thing, they just scare me. Well, I'm going to take the scare out of that for you. We'll come to the side camera. Most machines, you certainly don't need to have all the fancy bells and whistles of a lovely BERNINA that we're privileged to sew with. But when you put in a zipper foot, you have the ability to move the needle's position. Notice the center part of a zipper foot you must move to the left or to the right of the bridge because, of course, if the needle is coming straight down, you've got a metal plate to come in contact with to break the needle. So you're going to analyze, okay, what am I trying to get accomplished? And of course, we're trying to sew as close to our cording as we can. And so we'll enter into this into here. I want to make sure that I don't have anything roll back, and I want to make sure that my cording is pushed all the way to the side. And I like that you cut me a much longer piece so that I can kind of hang on to that out here. How much extra length do I have?
You've got about 8 inches of extra length.
I
so
love
there's
that.
A lot to work with.
Perfect. So I don't have to start at the very end. I can start right here. And what we're going to do is just sew right next to that. And don't be shy about having your zipper foot press right up against that cording. And you want to be making sure it's all the way to the left as we continue to sew. So I'll continue that up, and then Bethany will take us on to what do we do with our piping next.
Okay, so we've got our piping sewn. This is a bit oversized rather, than what we need for the actual piping on the bag, and it's oversized in width as well. Okay. So where the tool comes in, maybe you can see here that there's these channels running through.
Right.
And that's an actual groove cut into the ruler. And I've got a 1/4 inch outside of that groove, and I've got a 1/2 inch.
Okay.
So what I can do is lay that groove right on the piping and trim this to exactly a 1/2 inch from the piping or exactly a 1/4 inch. The pattern did call for 1/2 inch piping because I think that's what's readily available.
Okay.
I found when I was sewing this myself, I preferred 1/4 inch. It didn't make the piping stick out too far. So that's what I'm going to trim this to and show you how I incorporate that into the pattern. So I found, instead of doing this vertical, for some reason, I liked this horizontal.
And then you just trim it. That's incredible. While she's trimming, another thing we discovered that Susan Cleveland has and is not on set with us, but by the time you're watching this video, we will have, it's called the Grande version.
Correct.
And it's a little bit of a deeper groove, I believe. Is that what the feature is?
The groove on here is deeper and wider to allow for bigger piping. So if you're more of a sewer than a quilter,
yes,
and you're making throw pillows or just anything beautiful for your home that needs piping, you have a variety of sizes you can do with that.
I love that.
And it still has the 1/4 or the 1/2 inch.
Same concept though.
Yeah.
And so you can see, obviously, if you had a much thicker cording, this groove isn't deep enough. So the Grande, if you're doing a different project, not this project, but a different project, and you want to do piping, I should say, that the Grande may be one for you. So don't have it on set today, but it is headed this way.
Yes.
So anyway, that'll be another video, I'm sure.
Okay, let's get into the bag.
Okay, definitely.
The piping to me is just so fun, but I love the rest of this as well. So this is a basic strip pieced unit here. This is going to be the whole bag. We don't have a top part and a bottom and a lining that's separate. The lining's separate, but it's not. Okay. Really clever construction on this. And then your pattern comes with full-size pattern pieces in here. They're printed and folded. That is included in every pattern, and I've cut one out already here.
Okay.
And the pattern says to lay this on, and we're going to line it up, trace around on both sides, or you can fold it in half and do it once. I don't fold it in half because the pattern says to cut this fabric off before we sew our piping on. I just found for me, my preference was that it was just easier to sew this on when I had something a little extra to hold on to out here.
Of course.
So I drew it on, flipped it on both sides, and made sure I could line it up. We've got some reference points here to do that, and then I've used a friction pin so that will iron off. And then on this pattern piece, there's also some points. There's piping. Okay? If we're gonna add this bag as a little thread catcher that hangs off of the pin cushion there. There's spots to show you where to place hooks that you can sew in.
Oh, nice.
There's start and stop for where do we put our piping. There's hey, this is where we're gonna leave an opening for turning. It's on here for you to make it so that you can't mess it up. Okay?
I need those markers.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually mark the piping start stop. It should be right about here.
I might have you sew this part because I know this is specific for this to work out and land right where it wants to land, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I want them to get good information. Not my best guess. I've never made this one, so I've just admired these bags.
Okay. So the pattern then says for both curved ends, we're going to take our piping, and it kind of shows in the pattern it kind of coming off here where you've got your start stop for the piping. I just kind of let that come off, and I actually found I was like gluing this on or trying to let it hang as I sewed, not gluing, pinning it on, and then I was like, I'm gonna go get some glue.
Yes,
like why am I making my life harder? So,
yes.
Unique Stitch. This is kind of a newer product for
us. It is. I love it.
It's like I don't know what's going on, but you put it on, you put your fabric on, it's not gonna move.
It's incredible, and I love using other types of glue. You might have seen me use the Roxanne's glue base. There's something about the stitch that's more an immediate bond. We did it when we did some bags. I love that. It's I don't know. It's just a phenomenal tool.
A good one. I think this was suggested to us
in that class.
The quilt class.
Yeah, exactly.
We take classes too.
Yeah, we do. We do. I'm definitely
keep
a student.
ourselves educated.
I'm not as fluid with making bags, and I want to be. I want to be able to make clothes. So all of you that make bags and clothes and tailor clothes, I want to be you. I want your skills.
It's really hard for me to think outside of 2 dimensions when I'm making. So like I see something like this, and I'm like, oh, it's 3-dimensional. I don't know. So we're gonna take this glue, and I'm trying to get it pretty close to the edge without going over, but I also don't want it outside of my whatever a 1/4 inch would be from here.
Right.
So just where the kind of flat part of the piping is where we'll lay that. And we'll, of course, repeat this on both ends. And I think we're keeping that zipper foot on our machine.
Okay.
And we'll basically stitch right next to this, right where our first little stitch is. We're going to stitch right on top of that.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to keep going around. And then I do want to skip over the band. Okay? The band is where we're going to be putting the ribbon through, the little casing here, to cinch this bag together, kind of give it a little cute little edge to it. And if we stitched over the band here when we put the piping on and when we put the lining on, that would close
It's closed.
Yeah.
So we do start for a little bit and stop and then start again.
So there will be a very kind of small seam here.
I see.
And then we'll go around. So I'm going to trim this just a little bit shorter and get the other side.
That is already cute. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we'll get the other side on and just sewn down. That's the zipper foot again, just going back over the stitching we just did, right? That I just did.
Correct.
Perfect. All right. Okay. When we come back, then that'll just be done. Save us some time because I know we've got more to cover by far. All right. We'll do that.
Okay. We are back from the sewing machine. We've got our piping stitched down. And I did just want to reiterate that we did not sew over the band on any side. I also did not glue over this. That is going to end up being the channel that our ribbon goes through to get this stitched. Okay. So now that I've got this sewn, I can go in with the scissors and trim along the edge, and then I will cut this little box out of both sides as well. And I did my piping here kind of a little off to the side, but I can see my line here, and I want this to kind of line up with the lines that I've drawn. So really a little bit of handling, and then I'm gonna pick this up as a little easier for me.
And this is the Karen K's. We love our Kai scissors for cutting threads. Kind of when you're starting to go through some bulk, I grab for those Karen K's just a little bit. They're
good, like other than quilting scissor, you know.
I know Chase uses those a lot on the at-home set.
They're so good on the wool.
Right. Yeah. If you have not checked out the at-home channel, which is a really neat kind of another part of the Shabby family, Chase does those videos, a lot of DIY. She does these beautiful arrangements, hoops, a lot of lovely hand embroidery. She's got some fun projects right now with some different types of wreaths. Be sure to check out the at-home videos. They also, of course, come on the Shabby YouTube channel, but the Instagram is a great place for just decorating ideas. I mean, she's got an incredible eye for decor, so definitely want to mention that. I'm like, Chase, I need you to come to my house and do the interior decoration thing in my house. She's got that
really good taste there.
Yes, she does. Okay. So we're just cutting out on our drawn lines. I see that.
And let's see. Okay. This is going to end up being, you know how we usually box the bottom, box the corners?
Yes.
This is it kind of already cut out for us. So instead of having to try to find the triangle, it's here done for us. It'll make a lot more sense in a later step. Okay. I'm going to just double check. These are my lines that the pattern said we will be turning through. Okay. So I just want to make sure I can see those on the back. Okay. And then we are going to layer this with our lining fabric. This will go right sides together. Okay, so right side, wrong side. Okay. And we are going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam around the entire perimeter of this. Okay.
Okay.
We do need to be careful to not sew over the band again. Okay. So we never sew over the band.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to leave this hole open. So there will be a kind of small stitch around the edge, all the way around.
Yeah.
Okay. And then back to here. Okay.
Perfect.
So that'll go around the edge, really, really fast 1/4 inch seam. Even though I do have the piping on this, I go back to my regular 1/4 inch foot because that piping's kind of down and it has some layers over it. I found it just fine with the 1/4 inch foot rather than trying to do a 1/4 inch with a, what is that, the zipper foot.
Yes.
Okay.
And then once that's stitched, then are they cutting this out?
Yeah, and then we'll cut just right on the perimeter of this as well. I'll clip some corners. I'll show that on camera.
Okay, then I think when we come back, that'll just be done. It's already cut out and ready to go?
Yep.
All right, I love that.
Okay, I've got this all sewn down. I did leave that hole for turning there. And then I'm going to just trim. I trimmed off all the fabric flush to the edge of the top here. And I'm going to go through and trim my corners. These I don't want to cut into the seams I just sewed, but I do want to get pretty close to them just for ease of turning when I go to turn this through. Okay, and again, we did not sew over our band here.
Right.
Okay.
That's going to be hard.
It feels weird. It's like we're quilters, right?
I have my seam ripper handy. I know I'd sew over at least one of them.
I might have done that off camera.
Okay.
Did that a lot on the samples. Yeah.
It's hard to break those habits.
It's very hard. I sew like pedal to the metal. I just want to get that seam done and get it pressed, and I have to sometimes stop and slow down. So we're gonna turn this inside out. I don't trim or clip any of the curve here. I find that piping kind of helps it like turn really smoothly.
Sure.
Or sometimes when it's a convex curve, you have to go in and kind of get these little wedges cut out. I found I don't quite need it. All right. Got a little hot mess here.
It's okay. I see it taking form right now.
Okay.
Very clever construction. Okay, yes. Let's while she's using that, as you notice, the Clover Point turner, and we've all right, true confession. Before this, I would get chopsticks I would go get shish kebabs, do just about anything I had because this hadn't even been invented yet when I started using that type of stuff. But I love the Clover point turner. It's got the point and the curves. And as you can see, Bethany's actually using both. Most projects, I'm either using the curve or the point. And here, you're using both interchangeably. I see that, especially those nice 90-degree corners.
So I've got the 90-degree here, and then I'll use the kind of curve side to push out the curves on this side.
And Clover, I think one of the reasons I love Clover notions, and we use so much of them, is they're engineered in Japan with the best quality workmanship, engineering, and products. They last. They just hold up. The pins.
I've never had a Clover product fail me.
Correct.
Yeah, they last. So we didn't sew down this fabric here, so we do want to kind of force that 1/4 inch under to stay in. Okay, and again, that's the channel that our ribbon will go through. But I'm just kind of actually have been using this to kind of run that along.
Look at that.
And pull that out. This is almost like I dabble in bookbinding.
I know.
And I use one of these as a bone folder for like folding paper and like doing creases in them so they fold. It's just a really versatile tool.
It is, because that rounded point or that rounded portion isn't just the same. It's kind of beveled so that it comes to a very specific point.
And like, so this one kind of is sharper here, and then this one's a little more dull. So it's just a very good tool. When I was a poor sewer and I had to decide between the tool or the fabric, I was like, tool is going to last you forever. It's always okay to buy tools.
True.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, it's a one-time purchase. I can't tell you how long I had back in the day before I knew the word Creative Grid. I had a 6x24 ruler, and that was it. There was no other ruler. It was not in the budget, at all, and that was it for even the smallest cuts. I mean, it was such a clunky ruler to use, but as time progressed and there was a few extra dollars, I'm like, maybe a different ruler, a smaller ruler would be helpful.
Some investments.
Yeah, so I know what you're saying. When you can and make that investment, it's lovely because it's kind of just a one-time shot, and then you've got that product.
So our opening is here. I am going to press that so that the 1/4 inch is turned inside, and then you can go in with a little seam on the machine to close that up or stitch it by hand. That will be inside the bag. We're kind of doing like a faux French lining on this, or French seams on this.
This is adorable.
It's so cute. This fabric. You said you designed this?
This
is before my time.
This is called Heather, and it was designed. I was designing fabric for Maywood Studio, and there were a lot of SKUs in the collection. So we're back. I think we have 9 different of the Heather SKUs, and of course the beautiful basics, which is the gingham here, the 610. I think this may be P or R. It is lovely. So if you love that shabby chic look, maybe you're doing something for a little girl's room, it's a great collection to consider, but limited, and we won't have it too long, and then it will be archived again.
We are turned right side out. Okay. This is a step I always forget, so we are gonna make sure I do it this time. We are gonna sew like a stitch in the ditch, which is basically the stitch right next to that on either side. And because we turned these when we pressed them like both in, it's kind of you can kind of butt your needle up to that. But this is going to go on either side next to this, just top stitch real quick. And that creates the channel that our ribbon will be running through. So that's why we didn't close this up here, because that would have made it that we couldn't get our ribbon going through there.
Right.
So once I do that, while I'm at the machine doing that, I'm also going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge on this little opening here that we turned this through.
To close that. I like that. Okay, perfect.
All right, so we're back from the machine, and those 2 lines are sewn there. Our next little bit, we are going to fold these right sides together. We're lining up these cutouts here. Okay, so we don't want it like too high or too low. That should just line up perfectly. And then we're going to sew with a 1/4 inch from off the edge right up to where the band is sewn. Okay, both sides. And then we will come back for the last little bit of sewing on this.
Oh my gosh. This is kind of now quickly I get this. I won't even ask. There must be a boxed corner coming, but
it's like already done for us, kind of.
That.
I don't know. I try to figure out the math on these box corners that are kind of pre-cut, and again, I don't think well in 3 dimensions. So it's very difficult for me, but I like that it's kind of done for me already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So wonder clips here because I've got way too many layers to pin through with my fine pins. And again, a quick 1/4 inch from the band all the way off the edge.
Okay, so they're just starting right at that exact point.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, and then we can go in and give that a press if we'd like. I have found that I'm just going to press it open with my fingers because it's kind of hard to get this to lay flat. It doesn't really need to. And then, do you see what's going on here?
I do.
That.
We're going to, box a corner
Box
with
a
French
corner.
seams. That's
French seams,
amazing.
yeah.
I love that,
Okay.
French seams.
If you didn't see that, that's both sides. Basically, you're going to pull that apart, and that side will go together. And we'll give that another quick seam across on both sides. And that is the bag complete. We do have to add the ribbons. But I just love that kind of just, the math is done on that. It matches up so beautifully.
That is just darling.
It's
And the
so
French
cute.
seams, the part we're talking about, if you're a quilter, you're like, what's a French seam? Normally, if this wasn't a sewn edge, they'd be raw edges. They're finished edges, which I love that. That's the French component of it.
Kept us from having to do like a separate lining that we kind of stuff inside.
Exactly.
I hate those.
I do too. True confession. I've done a lot of those.
I don't like bag lining, so this kind of construction method, right up my alley. I
Yep.
like this a lot. Okay, I'm gonna clip some threads real quick. This is the never-ending part of my job is, and I'm constantly covered in thread.
Of course.
Okay, I'm gonna flip this right side out.
That's,
Right side
that's
out.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
my
one.
favorite part.
Okay. We have an adorable little bag there, yeah?
That is so cute.
Oh my gosh, okay. I think what really makes this is when it's all cinched together. So let's get these ribbons on here.
Okay.
I go way longer than I need because I want some room to tie a bow on this. And for a bodkin, I'm just using a safety pin here. I like to fold that in half, give it a little extra to hold on to. And then that side seam here, remember that? We didn't sew through that little bit there. We're going to go right from the front of the piping and just feed this through all the way to the other end. We'll do this on both sides.
That's adorable.
I love when you get to like the final finishing touches.
Yes.
And you're like, we're almost there. It's almost done. Like waiting for the reveal. All right, that's one. Do the same thing on this side, and I want to try to keep this flat on both. And then this is just like a satin ribbon. I really like, I think on this one I have like a grosgrain ribbon, which is a little bit thicker, has a little bit more body. I really like those as well.
This is the perfect one for this bag, though.
Yeah, it was like, I saw the color, it was like,
Okay.
I found my ribbon. This is the one.
This is the one.
We'll have a joke show we do. It's like, say yes to the dress, but it's just ribbon.
Oh my, finding the perfect ribbon. I was looking at ribbon yesterday. I'm like, is it the right color gold? Is it the right rich red?
Okay.
All this
This one
Christmas
is
ribbon on
turned.
sale.
There we go. Okay. And I know you are much better at tying bows than I am.
I like tying bows. Okay.
I'm going to have you tie one on this side, and then we'll cinch the other side and tie
Okay.
it on the other side.
So you'd have a knot first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically when I tie a knot, I like to tie that once, make our little bunny ear. And because I want the satin to be on that, this is a single-sided, I'm going to put the satiny side down.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull this through, and we're going to have a lovely bow.
Oh, gorgeous. So much better than I can do. Okay, so when I do the other side, I am going to kind of pull this tight. And I've learned that I want it a little tighter than I would think I would. I'm like, that's like way too tight. This kind of tends to loosen up once you let go of the bow. Okay.
Of course.
Also, using my safety pin again to kind of hold this in place so that the cinch doesn't come undone while I'm tying the bow.
I see.
Okay. That's something that's not in the pattern. It's just trial and error on my end. So
Okay.
do that again.
I'll do that again. While I'm doing this, if they do decide to put the handles on the bag, what step along the way would they do that?
Okay. Yeah. So the pattern just says, hey, if you don't want to turn this into a thread catcher, add some handles.
Okay.
Okay. So I just took some extra bias binding, and the bias that I use on the piping,
Yeah.
folded it together and together, the raw ends together, and did some seams here. when I have my strip pieced unit made and I've got the piping on, before I add the back, the lining, that like pink that we did on the inside.
That's being added. Okay.
So I will put my strips on top of the piping. Okay. So that's gonna end up being between our piping and our lining.
Sure.
On that end there. Okay. So it'd be, towards the inside.
Yep.
Towards the inside if my bag is right side up, my piping's up.
Okay.
And then my lining would go on top of that.
And does the pattern talk about that if you're going to add the straps, or they just kind of?
It's kind of just, if you want to do it, add it
now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they just mentioned that, but that's how you would do it, is to add that in.
Yeah. All right, let's moment of truth here. Take that out.
That is adorable. Oh my gosh.
So cute.
And then I suppose if someone's going to do kind of the thread catcher, where this has more of this component that works in combination.
Correct.
So perhaps we can cover that detail in this.
When we do the pincushion video.
Perfect.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that's just where you put these extra hooks if you did want to hook that onto potentially the pincushion.
Yep,
so.
and the pattern piece has the marks for that. And those are like cord or fabric covered hooks. So you can kind of sew into them to attach them on, so you don't have to sew like through the holes of it. I kind of find them quite fun to sew on. All right, I'm gonna trim these. So I left my ribbons long, and then once I got the bows tied and I got this looking how I want it, then I was able to trim the ribbons to be the same length on both sides. So.
Oh my, amazing! Same project, looks completely different.
Yeah,
can really be tailored to your favorite fabrics. We know this has been a longer video, and I know sometimes people the videos are too long. But you know what? A lot of people say, thank you for covering every single detail, because our goal, if you're going to pick up the Uptown Debbie Brown, maybe you pick up the piping hot binding because you want the tool, that you can be successful. You can watch what Bethany's showing us, or maybe if I'm doing a video, so that you can be successful. So we love that you hang in there with us so that you can learn all the nuances and details to be successful, of course. So we'll be back with part 2. You're going to be showing us the pincushion that is also included in the Uptown Debbie Brown pattern. And then if we do want to hook our thread catcher with that, we'll talk about that as well.
Correct.
All right, we'll see you then on part 2 of the Uptown Debbie Brown pattern.